Hello and welcome back to Total Football Analysis's live coverage of the Bundesliga. Today, it's Schalke versus Werder Bremen coming to you from the Veltins Arena in Gelsenkirchen. As always, I'm joined by Total Football Analysis's lead analyst, the brilliant Lee Scott. Lee, welcome back to the broadcast, mate. How are you, first of all?
I'm good, thank you, Harry. How are you getting on?
Not too bad. It's a lovely, lovely day here, and it's a lovely day in Gelsenkirchen by the looks of it on our pictures as well. And we're hoping for an entertaining watch. Let's have a look at these two teams. Of course, Werder Bremen come into this one looking to build on a couple of recent positive results as they look to avoid the drop. Schalke, on the other hand, though, they've lost all three of their Bundesliga fixtures since the competition resumed. In fact, their last league victory came in January, and David Wagner is a man under pressure, isn't he?
I think so. I think that, well, at the moment, we don't really know what's going to happen. Obviously, the other results haven't been good enough, and I think that if the fans were in the stadium today, we may see some protests against David Wagner with the way that Schalke have been playing since the restart. But the issue is that none of us know what's going to happen if a club decides to move on from its coach at the moment. How could you be a new coach coming into a situation at a club where training looks completely different, where you're not allowed to meet with players as much as you would normally in order to embed your ideas? So there's a good chance that David Wagner will see out the season at the very least. I mean, the positive form that Schalke had at the beginning of the season, probably he deserves that much, but certainly he needs to find a way to find more goals and inject some more positivity into the Schalke team, because what we've seen so far since the restart really hasn't been good enough for a team of that size.
Absolutely. Don't forget, guys, if you're watching us via the Total Football Analysis YouTube channel, head over to the Hot Mic app and you can sync our broadcast with your pictures. If you are watching on BT Sport, you can use the automated feature on the app. If you are not, you can still try and use it, but if you're having any difficulty, we will try our best to provide you with as many markers during the game to make that possible for you using the manual synchronization buttons. So we'll be keeping you posted on that throughout. Let's run through the two starting 11s while we've got a bit of time here before the game kicks off. Let's start with the home side, Schalke. Alexander Nubel is in goal. Schubert has been dropped. Nubel, of course, was stripped of his place in the team earlier on in the season due to the fact that he is running down his contract and he is about to sign for Bayern Munich in the summer. It's a back three of Ozan Kabak, Salif Sane and Jean-Claire Todibo. The wing-back positions are occupied by Juan Miranda and John Joe Kenny. Weston McKennie and Alessandro Schürpf make up the midfield, with Rabbi Matondo and Daniel Caligiuri providing support to Michael Gregorich up top. Who stands out to you in that side, Lee, and who should we be looking out for?
I think one of the most interesting players in the Schalke side is somebody who we didn't actually see the last time that we covered them for Hot Mike and Total Football Analysis, and that's Ozan Kabak, the 20-year-old Turkish centre-back. He's very good, very progressive with his passing, but he's also a strong defender, and that's something that Schalke really need at this point. They need solidity at the back if they're going to have a platform from which to build. So I'll be interested to see how he gets on. Of course, he forms a really interesting duo with the Turkish national team with Kaglar Soyuncu, the impressive centre-back at Leicester City. Going further forward, Weston McKennie, somebody who we didn't see an awful lot of. We covered Schalke in the first game back in the derby between them and Borussia Dortmund, and Weston McKennie sat at the base of the midfield and didn't really break into the box as often as expected. I hope to see him get forward a little more. But we were impressed with Rabbi Matondo, the young winger. When he came on, he looked positive. He looked to carry the ball at the defence. He looked to get in possession and pockets of space. So I think that getting him on the ball in the final third might be a way that Schalke can make something happen. Unfortunately, they don't really have a set striker. Even Michael Gregorich is more of a second striker. He's more of a supporting player who plays off of a front man. But again, Schalke just don't seem to have the squad capable of fielding the kind of team that will be effective for them at the moment.
Absolutely. Let's look at Werder Bremen's side. Yuri Pavlenka is the man in between the posts. It's a back four of Theodor Gebri Sebastian Langkamp, Nicholas Moisander and Marco Friedel. In the middle of the park, it's Maximilian Eggestein, Kevin Vogt and Davy Klassen, who Premier League fans will remember from his time at Everton. Leonardo Bittencourt plays just ahead of them, and it's Joshua Sargent and Milot Rashika who will lead the attack for Werder Bremen. Players to look out for.
Well, Bremen under Florian Kohfeldt are quite difficult to read sometimes. It looks like a back four on paper, but Kevin Vogt, who the ex-Hoffenheim midfielder defender who used to play under Julian Nagelsmann, he will drop back in the defensive line often to provide passing options that create a three in possession, perhaps out of possession sometimes as well. So look out for that. Further forward, Max Eggenstein, the 23-year-old German midfielder, is very highly rated. He's a very much a progressive attacking player, likes to get forward, likes to play in the half spaces, and likes to get on the ball and be creative. Davy Klaassen, who you touched upon, of course. We should really remember that when Davy Klaassen was at Ajax before his move to Everton in the Premier League, he was a traditional 10 who looked to break out the penalty area as often as he could. So playing a slightly deeper role for Werder Bremen at the moment. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on. But the real strength of this Bremen team is in the attack, where Milot Rashica, who's been linked to a move to certain Premier League teams as well as to the likes of Leipzig in the Bundesliga. He's a really interesting player. Don't expect to see him stay centrally. He'll try and drift into wide areas, drift into half spaces. And when he gets on the ball, he will run at defenders. He likes to commit people and take people on. Alongside him, the 20-year-old American forward Josh Sargent is a very good finisher. Perhaps still a little bit raw. Some of his link-up play isn't quite the standard you expect, but if he gets a chance in front of goal, he could be clinical.
Brilliant stuff. Of course, it is worth noting that, you know, for all the doom and gloom that seems to be surrounding Schalke at the moment, they still retain hopes of qualifying for next season's UEFA Europa League. However, if they are to stand any chance of doing that, you feel that they need to get a positive result today.
They need to do something. I mean, at the moment they're on such a slide. Even the reintroduction of Newell in goal is quite a surprising one, if you like. Obviously, the fans at Schalke remember that Manuel Neuer did the same thing when he was at the club. He came through the Schalke youth system, and he agreed a move to Bayern Munich, which set off near riots at the training ground. And to have Alex Newell, who they see as the heir apparent to Manuel Neuer in the Schalke setup, if you like. He came through the youth system, and now he's decided to move to Bayern on a free transfer. I'm not sure how Newell feels now with the news that Neuer signed a new contract last week, so perhaps the pathway to first-team football at Bayern for Alex Newell isn't looking quite as good as it was before. But I think they had to do something in that department because Marcus Schubert had made so many mistakes since the restart. They really need a little bit of stability in that position.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. We are almost ready to get underway in the Veltins Arena, Gelsenkirchen in the North Rhine-Westphalia region of Germany. Capacity of 62,271, including some seats and some standing areas. But of course, the stadium is empty as we continue to see games played behind closed doors in a bid to finish this Bundesliga season. What type of game are you expecting here, Lee? Because from everybody I've spoken to and from the research I've done, everything suggests that this is going to be quite a cagey affair.
I think that's probably the best way to describe it. I mean, we already know that Schalke have problems in the attack. They have problems progressing the ball into the final third. Defensively, on paper, they look very strong, but where's the creativity? Where's the player who'll take possession of the ball in between the lines and make something happen for them? Bremen on the other side have been quite strange so far this season. Florian Kohfeldt is still highly rated. He's a young coach who came through. He was one of the youth coaches in the Werder Bremen system when he was appointed to the head coach position in the first team. And he's somebody who isn't perhaps feeling the amount of pressure you would expect for the position that Bremen are on the table. He's somebody who the board at Bremen are quite happy to have, and they've made noises to suggest that if they were to be relegated this term, Kohfeldt would still be in charge next season. They've got a lot of very good attacking players. They just need to find perhaps that defensive solidity that they miss a little bit, especially in the wide areas and the half spaces where they can be vulnerable. But going forward, the likes of Rashica especially can make something happen against any team.
Brilliant. We've seen the Schalke players emerging onto the field now. A few minutes after the Werder Bremen boys took to the field, this got to be said, they've kept them waiting a little while in that very special tunnel that the Veltins Arena possesses. Almost looks like it's built inside a rock, which is fantastic. We're seeing the two teams take up their positions at the moment. Don't forget, if you are watching us via Total Football Analysis YouTube channel, head over to the Hot Mic app. And if you are watching us on Hot Mic, hit that like button, hit the follow button, and share the broadcast with your friends and family. Felix Zvaya is the man in the middle this afternoon as we approach kickoff, just a moment or so away. We're hoping to hit 400 followers on Hot Mic this weekend. We're very, very close. Hopefully, we can get to that by the end of this game. So if you haven't already hit that button, please do so. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow with more coverage of Paderborn versus Borussia Dortmund. We're about to get underway. Schalke in their blue shirts, white shorts and blue socks. Shooting from left to right, Werder Bremen in white shirts, green shorts and white socks, as the referee is having a final count of the players in the middle. And we're underway here. Schalke in possession. It's a long ball forward. As always, Lee, as we've noticed anyway in the games that we've been covering, are you expecting to see a bit of a unsettled first 10-15 minutes or so until the two teams find their feet?
Yes, it takes 10 minutes or so before the game settles down. Usually that's when the players start to feel their way into the game. At the beginning, it's all adrenaline, it's all pace. People are looking to get settled early and try to make an impact. So usually from a tactical perspective, it's worth watching the game for the first 10 minutes, but certainly don't draw any conclusions until that's over. But saying that, we've seen so many early goals in the Bundesliga since the restart that sometimes that can throw tactical plans out the window by changing the game state so quickly.
Absolutely. 22 degrees centigrade at pitch level, according to our pictures. Not the easiest of conditions to playing, but the sun is beaming down. There is quite a huge shadow cast over the pitch, isn't there, in this stadium, which makes things interesting.
It's a great stadium. I think it would traditionally be packed. Schalke are a huge club with a large following, and certainly the stadium is normally full whenever we see matches played there. So again, it can be strange for the players. They must be getting used to the fact that they're playing with no fans now, but certainly I think it still misses something, especially for a team like Schalke, who would be vociferously supported for the most part.
Absolutely. Salif Sane has gone down for Schalke, holding his calf there. To what looked like a foul from Davy Klaassen. The referees certainly awarded the home side with a free kick early on.
It's a clear foul as well. Just clipped the ankle as he ran past him.
Absolutely. Klaassen apologetic almost immediately, but that doesn't change the fact it's a free kick to Schalke. And Alexander Nubel, as we said, Bayern Munich bound in the summer, has taken this. It's a long ball forward. Here's John Joe Kenny towards Matondo, but he's dispossessed by Klaassen as Werder Bremen look to work their way out of the defensive third. All knocked on behind there. Number 11, Michael Gregoritsch, leads the line for Schalke this afternoon. Do you know much about Gregoritsch, Lee?
He's a player who usually plays along the attacking midfield strata, so he's not a player who's very consistent in front of goal, more of a creative second player who'll look to get on the ball from flick-ons and knock-ons from other players and from more fixed strikers, if you like. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on if he does lead the line for Schalke, because he's not somebody who traditionally can be relied upon in front of goal, certainly to lead the line or link play from that position.
He's just picked up the first yellow card of the game as well for a challenge on Kevin Vogt there. We're just seeing the replay of it again. Vogt went to clear it with his left foot. That is a really bad challenge, from Michael Gregoritsch. He's probably lucky that that's just a yellow card.
Late as well. I mean, that's the second time already we've seen that kind of challenge. Davy Klaassen had the trip on Sane just before this, and now we see Gregoritsch has left the foot in a little bit on Vogt. But Vogt is such an interesting player. He's somebody who, before Julian Nagelsmann came in at Hoffenheim, he was almost seen as a journeyman type, a defender who perhaps wasn't good enough for the top level. But under Nagelsmann, you saw Vogt become the club captain, a player who can play in midfield or in defence. At one point, he was linked to a move to likes of Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich. And now we see him in this Bremen side, and he's the one who offers Kofeld's side that tactical flexibility. We've already seen in the early stages that he's dropped in the back line to link play before stepping back out in the midfield, then dropping back again. And that kind of flexibility and ability to move into different positional slots can be key to help your team to build up the play.
Absolutely. You just Vogt just trying to walk off that injury. Looks as though he's going to be okay for the time being, but that was a horrible challenge from Michael Gregoritsch. As we said, really late, really high, and really dangerous. All 6 studs showing there. Plays back underway. Vogt will continue.
Now you can see him moving in the midfield now, just ahead of the 2 centre halves, but he'll keep making that movement. He'll keep dropping back and then moving forward as the game goes.
It's interesting to see the flexibility that offers, doesn't it? And it's something that perhaps as Premier League viewers we don't see as much of the tactical side of the game. I've certainly noticed that in the first 4 or 5 Bundesliga games that we've covered together. It's opened my eyes to a very different game and a far more tactical one.
Yeah, the Bundesliga is quite tactical. Perhaps not so much so as Serie A. The Premier League is the same with flexibility. Obviously, you think about Pep Guardiola, but Jurgen Klopp as well. Some of the things that this Liverpool side do are really flexible and give a lot of different pictures for the opposition. And even Mikel Arteta at your club, Arsenal, I think that going forward to the next season, we'll see a much more flexible style of play from them as well. It makes it more interesting.
Absolutely. Werder Bremen have their first corner of the game here. Opportunity to test Alexander Nubel in the Schalke goal. Ball's delivered, right-footed, towards the near post. It's flicked on by a Schalke head. I think it was Gregoritsch who got back there doing his defensive duties. He's conceded another corner, this time on the other side.
Odd one. He was under no pressure there. You'd think that the goalkeeper would be shouting because it was coming through to Nubel if Gregoritsch had left it.
Absolutely. Rashica is going over to the other side now to take this corner. Sane in deep concentration there at the back for Schalke as they look to prevent Werder Bremen opening the scoring here. 6 minutes played. Milo Rashica will deliver this ball. Right-footed. It's going to be an outswinger this time. Again, it's into that near post area. This time it's cleared, but only as far as Rashica once more on this right-hand side. He's got Miranda for company, but Miranda does well there. Plays the ball up the line. Vogt there picking it up, just looking a little bit slow in his movement. A little bit limited. Hopefully that'll pass from a Werder Bremen perspective. Ball in behind. Opportunity to get the ball into the box maybe for Leonardo Bittencourt, but he's won a throw-in for his side on that far side. Gebri Selassie, the right back, will come up to take it. Not much in the way of movement, but he looks for Joshua Sargent. Bremen still in possession. Now they have it at the back with Moisander.
Early stages at the moment, it's very easy for Bremen in possession. These areas, Schalke aren't pressing up very high. They're happy enough to drop off in a more deep, compact block to try and force Bremen to play through them. But that's a dangerous game, as we almost saw there with the pass through into the final third. If a little bit better interplay, some faster passing in that area as the ball played through, and Bremen would have been in and goal.
Here's Kevin Vogt in possession. Plays it out to this left-hand side to Marco Freidel. Back inside to Moisander once more. Vogt again, as you keep saying, Lee, dropping deep in between the two centre-halves in order to receive the ball and give them that extra option in possession.
Yeah. It just lets your centre-halves play wider as well. So if Schalke do press with 2 players, Bremen would still have a 3-on-2 advantage and be able to find space to progress the ball. But as it is, it's a 3-on-1 advantage. They find it extremely easy to move the ball towards the final third. Schalke just seem to be looking for opportunities to counter-attack at the moment, which isn't what they need to be doing at this stage. They need to be trying to get the ball forward themselves to try and find some form and create something going forward.
Just seen Milo Rashica go down there with an injury after he was caught late there. I was surprised that the referee allowed play to continue there, but he did.
Yep. Rashica's a very interesting player, so dynamic. He's almost perfectly suited to the way that RB Leipzig plays. So there's no surprise that they're heavily linked to him at the moment. They've been reports that the deal's almost done, which is surprising because many people thought that Rashica would move to the Premier League in the summer.
He has been linked with a move to Liverpool in particular. They're a club who are supposedly interested in the player. Of course, it is all paper talk at this stage. Nothing more than speculation, but it is worth noting. Don't forget, guys, you can get your questions in via the live chat feature, and we'll get through as many of those as we possibly can during this broadcast as Werder Bremen come forward once more. Here's Milo Rashica. Looks to drift inside, but there's nowhere to go. Bremen forced back once more. You'd think that Schalke were the away side, the way they've started this game. But we've seen early on, haven't we, in these last few weeks, that home advantage hasn't counted for much.
No, certainly not. I think that the ability of the fans to influence a game has almost been underestimated by people. When the Bundesliga restarted, we thought that because players were playing in their home stadium, we would still have the same advantage, but it certainly doesn't seem to have been the case. Of course, Schalke aren't helping themselves at the moment. They're sitting so deep and so compact that even if they win the ball back, the transition from this position into an attacking movement would be difficult.
Absolutely. Here come Bremen now with an opportunity as Sargent pulls the ball back across the penalty area, but Schalke managed to avert the danger, at least momentarily. But the visitors have won themselves a free kick on that far side. Theodore Gebri-Selassie coming forward from right back, fouled there by Matondo. Of course, a Welsh international, Rabbi Matondo. Liverpool born, just 19 years old. Signed from Manchester City. The visitors have another opportunity to get the ball into the penalty area. Rashika stands over it, as does Marco Friedel, left-footed, but he's moved away now. It'll be Rashika to deliver. Ball delivered low. Don't think that was quite the delivery he had hoped for. Cleared at the near post there by Michael Gregorich.
Yeah, that was pure.
Schalke have the opportunity to move up the pitch, but they're not doing it. They're just simply not doing it.
No, it seems to be a very distinct game plan. Their plan obviously is to sit back, and as I say, they're looking for the opportunities to hit quickly in transition. But that wasn't an opportunity that they could take there because their starting position was so deep. They need to press up a little bit higher, especially in the wide areas with Matondo, for example. He's a player with the pace that transition can be successful. But Gregorich just isn't the player who'll hold the ball up for you in that situation, allow you to get forward.
Here come the visitors once more. They're the team playing all the football at the moment. Maybe Klaassen stretches there, but he can't get the ball under control. Schalke maybe with an opportunity to break here. They've won themselves a free kick, but they're in no rush to take it. Here's Miranda on this left-hand side. Plays the ball inside. Sane plays it out towards the right, and it's played down the line in search of Daniel Caligiuri, I think it was, or who's... apologies, it was John Joe Kenny. Another player with Premier League links. Currently on loan from Everton.
I think it's interesting that the Bundesliga team spends so much time recruiting in the English game that they're aware that the pathways for young players at Premier League teams aren't that great, so players need to find opportunities to go out and play first team football. Obviously, Dortmund signing Jadon Sancho was probably the catalyst for this in truth, but Schalke have done the same thing with Kenny and Matondo.
Here come Werder Bremen again, looking menacing on the edge of that Schalke penalty area. Sargent picks it up. It's Klaassen from range. His shot is deflected. Flicks up, but it's easy for Alexander Nubel. First touch for the Schalke goalkeeper. After a couple of dodgy attempts at coming and collecting the ball from corner kicks, he'll be glad to get his hands on the ball and get an early feel. 13 minutes played here in Gelsenkirchen. It's Schalke 0, Bremen 0. Of course, the Veltins Arena was the venue of the 2004 UEFA Champions League final. Of course, won by Jose Mourinho's FC Porto. Also hosted 5 games in the 2006 World Cup as well. So the stadium with plenty of history, despite not being that old. Here's Gebri-Selassie on this right-hand side. Plays it infield. Dispossessed, but the ball comes back to a Werder Bremen man. It's with the centre-halves now. Moisander's pass doesn't lead to anywhere. Caligiuri getting involved in the scrap in the middle of the park there. Schalke looking to work the ball out, but they're under pressure. They're being pressed. Here's Rashika on this left-hand side. Plays it back inside. Bremen have a man down, but the referees allow play to continue. Friedel steps inside. Very left-footed player, isn't he?
Yes, same as Rashika. Rashika will always look to drift inside as well. He likes to come inside and watch him trying to shoot from range as well. He's not a player who's shy to let fly from 20, 30 yards, and he is capable of scoring from that range as well. The game's just a bit slow at the moment, but that's more to do with the fact that Schalke are sitting so deep. They're inviting Bremen forward. At one point in that last attacking phase, we saw the centre half for Dortmund for Bremen move right up into the final third with no pressure on him. If this continues, then eventually Bremen will find a way through to create chances and goals. Schalke have to be careful.
I mean, we were talking in the build-up about the need for Schalke to take this game to Bremen. They've only had 24% possession at home against the team struggling for their lives in the division. That doesn't bode well early doors for David Wagner.
No, it certainly doesn't. I think that, as we've been saying, they need to find a catalyst. They need to find some way to get the ball and move the ball forward, to move their block forward as well, so that there are players supporting the ball as it moves into the Bremen half. At the moment, that's just not happening. And as I say, Bremen will continue to probe. They'll continue to play these passes, changing the angle of attack, and always looking for the progressive ball at the final third, and that's where the danger is.
Absolutely. I have to apologise to those of you that are watching us via the Hot Mic app. If you catch me sneezing during this broadcast, I've been struck down by hay fever, and it's really, really bad today. But the show must go on, and we continue. So I just want to put that out there, disclaimer, early doors, just in case you catch me sneezing during this live commentary as Rashika goes down there under the challenge of Michael Gregorich. He's been very robust so far, Gregorich, if nothing else. He's already picked up a yellow card. He's got to be careful, though, hasn't he?
Yes, he does. And many more chances at that. He will end up getting a second yellow. And at this point, if he is the player who's supposed to be holding the ball up and bringing others into play for Schalke, they can't really afford to lose him at this point. Of course, Guido Bergstaller is on the bench. He's a striker who could potentially play that same role. But I'm more interested in Ahmed Kuchku, the young Schalke striker who's came through their ranks. He's a very good finisher, but just not getting enough first team minutes at the moment.
Schalke defending this free kick as Werder Bremen just changed the angle there before it was delivered towards that far post. Gebri Selassie had made the run forward. Acrobatic attempt to bring the ball down there, but it was always going to be difficult. But an interesting sort of free kick there from Bremen, because it looked as though Klassen was going to put it straight into the mixer, but there was a change of angle and something that, you know, had the delivery been a little bit better, could have come off. Sun is shining, beating down on these players. Home side trying to string together 3 or 4 passes, and they just don't seem capable of doing that at the moment as Salif Sane steps out of the defence in order to try and bring his team forward, but they're dispossessed. Here's Sargent. Can't miss Sargent with his ginger curly locks.
It's very distinctive.
Makes my life a hell of a lot easier, so I'm not complaining. As the ball goes forward, here comes Matondo trying to get on the end of this. Bremen with Moisander and Friedel managed to get it out of the danger zone. Ball down the line towards the number 19, Joshua Sargent, who's just come out to this left-hand side in the last couple of moments. Maybe a little switch with Milo Rashika.
We saw just in the last phase from Schalke that they did almost manage to get Rabbi Matondo in that position to affect the game in the final third, but it came through a direct ball instead of the ball being progressed through the third sensibly. They need to find a way, I think, to find those passes, those connections, if you like, as they come through the midfield. If they continue to look long, then they could fashion the odd chance, but the Bremen defence will be able to deal with most of those balls over the top.
Here's Moisander in possession. Squares it to Langkamp. Moisander
No
gets
pressure.
it back. Nothing whatsoever. I'm really disappointed in Schalke so far, given that, you know, they're under real pressure to get a result here. I know Bremen are under pressure too, but, you know, Schalke are the side further up the table. I guess the onus is on them being at home as well, maybe to be the ones to take this game by the scruff of the neck. And, you know, Bremen have picked up a couple of really positive results of late, and you're seeing a bit more confidence in the way that they've started this game.
Absolutely, I think that's clear. At the beginning stage of the season, Schalke were actually doing very well, and part of their success was their high press. They were playing in a 4-2 almost under David Wagner at first.
Lovely little bit of ingenuity there from Klaassen. Didn't come off. Schalke once again managing to get plenty of bodies behind the ball. Been the theme of the game so far. Bremen in possession, but unable to breach this very deep Schalke defence at the moment. Lovely bit of football there. Todibo there. Apologies, it was Weston McKennie looking to break forward there for Schalke. First yellow card for a Bremen man goes to Langkamp.
That's where McKennie's is strongest. Those bursting runs through the middle. We didn't see that against Dortmund. We saw him sit as the anchor at the base of the midfield. But he's strongest when he's allowed to move forward through the midfield at pace like that. Carries the ball very well. He is capable of moving Schalke forward.
Just limping a little bit there, Weston McKennie, after that challenge. Sebastian Langkamp showing his second yellow card of the Bundesliga season. 32-year-old German. Not played many times in the Bundesliga this season. This is just his fourth appearance. Miranda looking to get in behind of Gabri Selassie. He gets back and he concedes a throw-in, which the left wing back on loan from Barcelona will take. Got a couple of players on loan from Barcelona in this Schalke side. Of course, Jean-Claire Todibo is another one. Here is Miranda, delivers into the box, left-footed towards the far post. Cleared everyone, but Matondo will chase it. Got Friedel for company. Matondo just trying to win possession back there, trying to get him behind him, but the defender did really, really well there. Good strength from Marco Friedel. Just seeing him there. He's got his body in the right place, making it really, really difficult for Matondo to get the ball without fouling him ultimately.
It's always going to be tough. Matondo's given up a lot of height there, and when the defender gets the body position between himself and the ball, if you like, to stop Matondo from getting possession easily, then it's very tempting for the player to pull them down and just foul in that position. In that area, you really need the forward player to be a bit more patient and just try to block the pass forward for the defender rather than trying to wrestle them ground in that way.
Visitors have a throw-in on that far side. It's taken short. It's back with Gebri Selassie in towards Sargent. Gebri Selassie is a very energetic player, considering he's 33 years old, but I suppose you have to be to play that position nowadays.
Yeah, he seems to be around forever, and Bremen typically play with wing backs and have done for years now, so he's a player who's very much used to dominating that side of the pitch. He's occasionally got a mistake in him, and now his pace is going a little bit compared to how he used to be. He used to be a flyer up and down the side, but just slowed down slightly as time goes, I think.
Don't forget, if you're watching us via the Hot Mic app, give the broadcast a like, give it a share, and give Total Football Analysis a follow. That way you'll never miss a broadcast as we bring you an alternative soundtrack to some of your favourite football games. And of course, we'll be announcing in the coming days a full schedule for June, in which we'll be covering games from not just the Bundesliga, but from the various other leagues that are scheduled to restart in the coming weeks. Miranda delivers left-footed. It's cut out at the near post there. Really excited about bringing you more live coverage for Total Football Analysis.
And with different voices as well. There'll be other analysts from Total Football Analysis that will be on these broadcasts. It won't always be myself. And it won't always be yourself, I think, Harry. If we get different broadcasts on the same day, we might have different commentary teams. So it's something that we're looking to grow as quickly as we can and as efficiently as we can, because it's obviously something that people have got an interest in, to hear about the game in a different way rather than the traditional broadcast media.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right, Lee. For those of you sick and tired of hearing my voice, there'll be some additional voices coming on board, and you'll be able to tune into those as well. Here's Kenny for Schalke. Plays it back to Kabak. Goes all the way back to Alexander Nubel. And for all the criticism that we've given Schalke early on in this match, Nubel's not had to do a great deal, has he?
No, he hasn't. That's the issue. I mean, the deep defensive block, you understand it from Schalke from a defensive point of view because they are denying, like the Sargent, Bittencourt, and Rashika the space to get on the ball and affect the ball in the final third. But it's been the other way that the issues have really been. We've seen Newell almost flap at a couple of crosses, but the one point he had to handle the ball, he did so calmly. He is a highly rated young goalkeeper, and German goalkeepers tend to be developed very well. They always seem to have young goalkeepers coming through the system that go on to bigger things. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops when he does move to Bayern Munich, especially with limited playing time.
Here is Moisander in possession for the visitors. He's given that away. That's sloppy as Matondo carries the ball forward for Schalke. Can he find Miranda on that left-hand side who had broken forward? He couldn't. Bremen have it back and they have a chance to stage an attack of their own. Schalke unusually far up the pitch here. They've conceded a free kick as Joshua Sargent goes out onto that right-hand side once again, looking to create something. It's another yellow card. This time is Jean-Claire Todibo. That's 2 Schalke players in the book, 25 minutes in. That one felt a little bit harsh on first viewing, but I'm sure we'll get a second replay here. We just see...
It was just a silly challenge. There's no need to make contact in that position. Rather, just the player's headed towards the touchline. He's receiving the ball, which is a slow rolling ball. Just allow him to receive the ball and then shadow him out to the touchline where he's got less space to play. Instead, he's going away at a free kick in a dangerous area.
Absolutely. Todibo with a second yellow card of the season. He's only been at Schalke since January, of course, joining on loan from Barcelona, as previously mentioned, this being his 8th appearance. Opportunity to get the ball into the penalty area once more. It's delivered left-footed towards that far post. Alexander Nubel will come relatively unchallenged and gather it with ease.
Very easy there. Interesting to see at that point, though, that Schalke did break forward 5 players up in the Bremen half, and Nubel released the ball long to try and access that quickly. So obviously the transitional attack is what they're looking for. They've just struggled to get it going so far in this match.
Don't forget, guys, get your questions in via the chat feature, and we'll be coming to those at half-time, or if there are any stoppages prior to that, we'll be going through those questions, and then Lee will be providing you some brilliant insight, as he always does, of course, but he'll be answering your questions directly. Here is Kenny on this right-hand side. Looks to chip it in behind for Matondo, but the 2 players certainly weren't on the same wavelength. Don't forget, you can sync our commentary with your television pictures, whether you're watching it on BT Sport or Fox Sports 1. The sync is available, so use the app, hit the button, should do it automatically. If you need to adjust it manually, though, you can do that too. We're currently on the 27th minute and 30th second. Schalke win a free kick just inside the centre circle. Don't forget, tomorrow from around about 4:45 p.m. we'll be bringing you live coverage of Paderborn versus Borussia Dortmund. Sane will take this free kick for Schalke. Plays it short, gets it straight back, plays it to the left where Todibo is situated. Lovely bit of skill. Very confident on the ball, isn't he, Todibo? Ball in behind in search of Weston McKennie there, who was just trying to pull off the defender's shoulder. Found Pavlenka in the end, though.
Todibo's a strange one. There weren't a lot of people that were expecting him to make the move straight from French football into Barcelona. Barcelona signed him, obviously, with a view to allow him to develop in the B team or on loan before potentially getting first team football at Barcelona. But his ability on the ball is one thing that would have attracted Barcelona. He is calm in possession, he's composed, but that makes it more surprising that Schalke aren't willing to step out progressively from the back and play the ball forward. They've got the likes of Todibo and even Kabak who can do so, but they're limited with the positions that they're getting the ball for Schalke, because Bremen are more willing to step up and press the ball. The centre halves aren't able to play out as easily.
Speaking of Todibo, I think he tried to find a teammate there, but the ball will roll almost along the touchline there. So Werder Bremen will gather it.
So I just built up his ability to play the ball there, and he just plays the
It's
nothing ball forward.
it's always the way, Lee. I mean, last weekend, or earlier this week actually, when we were covering Bayern Munich versus Dortmund, I made the comment about Serge Gnabry not being in the game just about 5 seconds before he had an attempt cleared off the goal line. It's the curse of the commentator, my friend.
Certainly.
Schalke have a free kick. Caliguri will take it quickly. Weston McKennie bursting forward here, but it's found its way all the way back to Yuri Pavlenka in the Werder Bremen goal. 28, Czech goalkeeper.
We need to see Weston McKennie making that run more often. He's been used in the past as almost a striker, as a false nine or auxiliary forward, and he has the ability to play with his back to goal and hold the ball up for Schalke. So it'll be interesting to see if that is something they look to access more going forward. It might be that they've recognised the fact that they don't have a focal point in attack and that they're looking to address that.
Here's John Joe Kenny. Lovely bit of skill. Finds himself in a position to cross. Drives it into the box. Gone all the way through, and it'll go out for a Werder Bremen throw. Just having a look at some of the other scores. Wolfsburg 0, Eintracht Frankfurt 1, Mainz 0, Hoffenheim 0, Hertha Berlin 1, Augsburg 0. Of course, later on today, it's Bayern Munich versus Fortuna Düsseldorf from the Allianz Arena. Here come the away side, looking to get in behind themselves, looking to take advantage of the fact that Schalke have pushed further up the pitch. Here's Rashica. Oh, he's really unlucky there. The ball cannons back off him, and it goes out for a Schalke goal kick. Really unlucky there. Neither side have looked particularly likely in this opening half an hour, but if anyone looks like they're going to have an impact on this game, Milot Rashica has certainly been one of the more lively customers, hasn't he?
Yes, he is. He's very active for Bremen. He's the player they tend to look for when they're attacking the attacking phase, and he doesn't stay in one place. He doesn't stay on the left or the right, or even centrally. He just drifts and he tries to find pockets of space that he can get the ball. But when he gets the ball, he's not the most likely to set up a teammate, if you like. He always has that single-minded approach.
Here come Werder Bremen. They've got a situation here. It was 3-on-2 momentarily in their favour. It's an effort from the edge of the box, and that is a wonderful goal from Leonardo Bittencourt. That is absolutely wonderful. Opened it up onto his left foot and guided it into that top corner, leaving Alexander Nubel with no chance. It's what Bremen deserve. It's Schalke 0, Bremen 1.
And that's interesting because Schalke were caught on the ball. Here's Todibo again, who I built up, trying a little trick to get away from pressure, losing the ball, losing possession high up the field. And at that point, Bremen were finally able to hit a transition attack with Schalke out of position defensively. When the ball comes to Bittencourt, he just checks inside, as you say, opens up the body, and he's the kind of player who has that ability. He's got a magical left foot, and you see it there, just inside of the foot, curled at the far corner. But that's purely a result of an overplay in midfield from Todibo. He looked for the free kick when he went down. It was certainly not a free kick, but because he was out of position, the space was opened up and Bremen were able to execute.
Schalke will no doubt be asking for a foul there on Todibo, but the finish was exquisite, wasn't it, from Leonardo Bittencourt? I mean, Alexander Nubel, of course, slightly off of his line, as you'd expect, though, from a goalkeeper in that situation, but he still had to finish it, and what a finish it was. Leonardo Bittencourt with his 4th Bundesliga goal of the season, the 26-year-old.
And Bittencourt's often flattered to deceive wherever he's been. He's never quite established himself at a club as a top player, despite his ability to do things like that. He tends to drift in and out of games. At times he's extremely effective, then the next time he gets the ball and he'll lose concentration and do something sloppy and give it away. But obviously he has the quality if he gets into those positions, but the key again was the fact that Schalke were caught out of position for possibly the first time in this match. And now they have to come forward.
The problems mount up for David Wagner. Fortunately for him, there isn't a crowd to get on his back this afternoon.
No, and Schalke fans are notorious for getting on the coach's back if things aren't going well. They're not shy about letting the coach staff know what they think.
Huge football club who haven't been achieving what they'd like to have been achieving, certainly in the last few years or so, and you can understand why they grow frustrated the way they do. But they trail.
Absolutely.
They currently trail Werder Bremen, who of course are in the drop zone, or were in the drop zone at the start of kickoff. They do have a game in hand as well, so I'm pretty sure they'll still be in there, regardless of the score at the moment. But just showing signs that they might not be down and out in the Bundesliga just yet this season.
No, I think it would generally be a surprise if Bremen were to get relegated. They're a team who have a great reputation and are quite successful in previous years in the Bundesliga. They used to be one of the top clubs in German football not that long ago, and certainly see them struggling down at the bottom of the table with an impressive young coach and a squad that has got talent. I think it's unusual, to say the least, perhaps a result of some unlucky performances rather than just poor football.
Interestingly, Bremen haven't operated outside of the top flight since 1981. There you go, backing up your point.
I think Schalke's problem, the fans get quite irate at Schalke about the way the club's run sometimes, and with good reason if you consider that their near neighbours and rivals are Borussia Dortmund. And if you look subjectively at the two teams, they're the same stature, they're the same size, the same kind of fan base, the same resources, but Dortmund just seem to be able to manage the club far better than Schalke do.
Absolutely, I think you're spot on there. John Joe Kenny finds Rabbi Matondo, Schalke, a little bit more urgency in their play now, but they don't want to be in this area of the field, being put under pressure by Bremen's forwards. We saw what happened just a few moments ago when they were pressurized, when possession was lost. Maybe an argument that there was a slight hint of a foul there, not 100% sure, would need to see it again. But the referee and the officials watching on and the VAR certainly didn't think so, so it doesn't really matter.
No, quite. I think Jadibo just got caught in the ball. There could have been a foul, but generally speaking, the coaching staff will be of the opinion that he shouldn't be trying that trick in midfield as it was. That's a position where the defender should be looking to play forward and not being caught in possession. You can see the problems that defenders have. If they lose the ball in those areas, they're out of their defensive slot, and the opposition can be very quick to take advantage of that, and that's what we saw.
Schalke have an opportunity now to get the ball into the Werder Bremen penalty area. Going to be delivered by Miranda, left-footed towards that far post, and Weston McKennie got up there. Didn't quite make the contact he would have hoped for, but it's an opportunity. Just seeing it again, Weston McKennie does get ahead to it, just can't quite guide it inside Yuri Pavlenka's near post there.
Almost like he mistimed his jump slightly. He seemed to be almost coming down as the ball actually reached him, as opposed to meeting it on his way up, where he can generate a little bit of power and control the direction of the ball a little bit better. But McKennie is generally very good in the air. You can see Schalke are pressing much higher now. They're looking to be more active and chase after the ball a little bit more, putting more pressure on Bremen in the build-up phase.
It does make you wonder, though, doesn't it, why they weren't more proactive from the beginning and why David Wagner's side are so reactive at the moment. Because, you know, they're in a bad way. They're on a bad run of results. As we said previously, they haven't won a Bundesliga game since January.
Yeah.
David Wagner cannot afford to not be proactive, to not, you know, urge his team forward and to try and go out there and take points, particularly in home games against sides, with all due respect to Werder Bremen, who find themselves struggling for survival this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there has to be an element of risk taken for Schalke, especially from this point on. In these broadcasts, we've talked often about how goals change the game state. At 0-0, Schalke could perhaps afford to be more transitional and sit deep and try to hit Werder Bremen on the break a little bit to try and attack and find a way through. But now at 1-0, Bremen can be a little bit more patient and Schalke have to get out after the ball. The only problem is that leaves spaces, as we can see here in the final third. If Bremen could move the ball a little bit quicker, those spaces could be exploited.
Absolutely. Here's Moisander at the back for Bremen. Plays the ball infield. Rashica's come inwards to receive it. He plays it out to Friedel. It's back with Moisander in the defence. Here's Kevin Vogt. Here come the visitors once more with Eggestein. Into the box. It's fired from the angle there. From Leonardo Bittencourt, of course. Full of confidence after that finish just a few moments ago. You see the ball come into him. He takes a touch, shifts it onto that right foot. It's just almost flicked it up, hasn't it? It's on the bounce as he turns.
Yeah,
Difficult to keep that down.
he's notoriously more left-footed than right-footed, and you can see that there. And on his left foot previously, when he got the chance, he curled it in the far corner. There, he just lashed at the ball a little bit. But that whole attack came from a very clever pass from Kevin Vogt. He disguised it. Body shape looked like he was going to go back to the centre half, so instead the ball went forward into Eggstein in the half space, and that's where Schalke were caught out. Those are the spaces that Schalke need to be careful to defend against, because Bremen can be creative in those areas, and at 1-0 they very much have the advantage of time, if you like, to make something else happen.
Absolutely. Here is Kevin Vogt picking the ball up once again in front of those two Werder Bremen centre-backs, but as we've said already, he has that ability to just drop in between them and make things a little bit more solid at the back for Bremen when they're not in possession. Rashica down again. He's been battered and bruised in this first half. Lots of challenges coming in. This time it was from Ozan Kabak. Here's Moisander once more into Sebastian Langkamp on a yellow card, of course, after his foul on Weston McKennie earlier on in the half. Got it back now. Squares it to Moisander. Takes a touch. Looks up. Shifts the ball back onto his favoured left foot. Opens his body up and finds Friedel on this left-hand side.
And Bremen are just looking to pass the ball now, changing the angle of attack, and they're trying to draw Schalke out towards them. You saw that then.
Ball into the channel, which Josh Sargent will get onto. He's lost to Debo there. Delivers it into the penalty area. His cross took a deflection by the looks of things. And Werder Bremen are going to get themselves a corner 4 minutes before the break. They currently lead in Gelsenkirchen by 1-0 after Leonardo Bittencourt's wonderful strike after Todibo was caught in possession in an area that he really shouldn't have been. David Wagner will be frustrated, but they've got to get in at half-time with just the 1-goal margin, you feel, to have any chance of turning this around in the second period. As Bremen threaten once more. Going to be delivered left-footed this time by Marco Friedel. First time he's taken a corner today. It's been Rashica up until now. It's delivered left-footed, flat delivery into that near post, flicked on by Sargent, and then turned over in the end there by Nicholas Moisander, the 34-year-old Finnish defender.
I think Rashica's crossing so far from these set pieces hasn't been up to standard, so it makes sense to just give somebody else a chance and see if they can affect the game. I always prefer in-swinging corners from either side anyway. I think it just puts a little bit more pressure on the defences and the goalkeeper.
Absolutely.
But that's just Rashica's game, though. He likes to be involved. He likes to be the focal point. He likes to take all the free kicks, all the corners. He likes to be the one who takes possession of the ball. And if they get any penalty kicks, watch him try to grab the ball, whether he's the designated penalty taker or not. He's just that kind of personality. He wants to be there, and he wants to be the one who makes a difference for his team.
Absolutely. Just on that point about corners, about the in-swinging corners, I think you're right. They do put that little bit more pressure on the goalkeeper and the defenders from fear of where the ball may end up if they don't deal with it. But also with the outswinger, I guess what you can do there is you can tempt the goalkeeper at times to maybe come for something that he shouldn't. And we've seen that happen on many occasions. And when somebody can get on the end of that and change the direction of the ball with the power already on it, they can be equally as effective in my view.
Yeah, definitely. I think that set pieces and corners in particular are a side of football that's becoming more and more active in terms of analysis and in terms of finding different ways to do things in the attacking phase. You see teams now with different blocking patterns and different runs and different systems depending on what the signal from the taker is. Our own at Total Football Analysis, one of our analysts, Cam Megan, who's likely to do some of these broadcasts going forward, is somebody who takes a lot of time to break down set pieces, and I know that he really enjoys the minutiae of it and how teams create chances from those areas. Certainly, if you've got a player who can deliver the ball accurately, then it makes sense to take as much advantage from corners as you can.
Absolutely. We've just seen another yellow card for another Schalke player, this time Weston McKennie, for his foul on Marco Friedel on that. On Werder Bremen's left-hand side, Schalke's right, but there was no question about that, and that being a yellow card. It's his 5th of the season, Weston McKennie.
We can see that without pressure on the ball, the centre halves have easy possession, vote to stay in higher. He doesn't have to break back into the defensive line because no Schalke player is actively pursuing the centre halves in possession.
Visitors have possession again. It's a ball looking to go in behind to Debo there. Joshua Sargent trying to make life difficult from the Barcelona loanee, 20 years old. Linked with a move to Everton earlier on this week. Here's Theodore Gebri Selassie on this right hand side. He'll take the throw and it's a poor one. It's given away. But Schalke can't retain possession for very long anyway. Sane having to hook that ball away after it came back into the penalty area. Hooked away this time by Ozan. Ozan Kabak, that is. The Turkish international. Here is Weston McKennie driving forward for Schalke here. He's won his team a throw-in on this near side. 3 minutes of stoppage time have been added here in Gelsenkirchen. It's Schalke 0, Werder Bremen 1. Don't forget, you've got a couple more minutes to get your half-time questions in, and we'll be taking a short 2-3 minute break, and we'll be back to answer those. So don't go anywhere at the break. We've got plenty to discuss, of course. Bremen will be in no rush to move things along at the moment. They'll be happy to go in at half-time with a lead, won't they?
Definitely. I think at this point that's all they want to do. They want to protect it. They want to go in at half-time at this score, and then Kofeld will just tinker slightly with the system, with the shape, where the spaces are, and try to make sure that Schalke can't come back into the game in the second half.
It's of course Schalke not moving very well, is he, since that,
no, he's not.
That challenge involving Salif Sane.
I talked about the fact that he quite often drifts in and out of games, and quite often injuries have also played a part in him not really catching at any clubs he's been at so far.
Effort from the edge of the box there from Matondo. Not challenging Yuri Pavlenka though in that Bremen goal, but just a half chance, I guess, there for Schalke. Seeing him, he looks in a lot of pain, Leonardo Bittencourt. And I guess you're absolutely right. We've seen both sides of him, haven't we? We've seen that side that drifts in and out of games, that doesn't get involved too often. And then we've seen the magic that he can produce when given the opportunity. Florian Kofeld just barking out some instructions to his team there as we enter the last minute of stoppage time in the first half. Here's Weston McKennie looking to escape the attentions of Klaassen. He's won a throw-in out of him on that left-hand side. McKennie starting to get more involved now, starting to pop up on the left and get involved on the right as well.
Yeah. He's just trying to find a way to affect the game for his team. I think previously we've seen him sitting almost centrally and sitting quite deep, but now he understands that they need to impose themselves in the game a little bit more, and he's a player who can do that for them.
Miranda will take this throw-in on the left-hand side for the hosts. Weston McKennie again out on that left-hand side. Alessandro Schürpf is obviously being tasked with sitting a little bit more disciplined in the middle of the park and allowing Weston McKennie to do that.
Yeah. Theo Zaka's warming up quite a lot for Bremen at the moment. He would be the natural replacement if Bittencourt is hurt and can't play in the second half. Expect Zaka to be the change.
Certainly doesn't look good for Leonardo Bittencourt based on the way he's moving around. It's half time here in Gelsenkirchen. It's Schalke 0, Werder Bremen 1. This man, Leonardo Bittencourt, opened the scoring for the visitors with an excellent left-footed finish, giving Alexander Nubel no chance whatsoever after Jean-Claire Todibo gave the ball away in a very, very dangerous area. We're going to take a short break, just a couple of minutes. We'll be back and we'll be answering some of your questions from the first half. Don't go anywhere. Good afternoon and welcome back to Total Football Analysis's live coverage of the Bundesliga, brought to you via the Hot Mic application. I'm your commentator, Harry Symeou, and as ever, I'm joined by the brilliant Lee Scott. We're going to answer some of your questions. Of course, it's Schalke 0, Werder Bremen 1 from the Veltins Arena in Gelsenkirchen. The visitors currently lead. Let's go over to some of the questions from you guys, the listeners. The first one comes from Chris. He says, does Wagner need to evolve his methods in his next job to stop his career slide?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think at the start of the season, I touched upon it in the first half, but Schalke were actually performing very well, and that was in a 4-4-2 with two forward players and a very high press. Over the course of the season, whether through injuries or whether through just squad rotation, they seem to have lost their momentum quite a lot, and he's gone into more of a deep defensive block. Now, for a coach, that can be quite tempting to do. Obviously, when performances aren't happening, when results aren't going their way, it can be tempted to drop back deeper and deeper to protect your own goal and try and hit transitioning attack. He's still very highly rated. He's still highly rated in Germany, and certainly Schalke, as far as I know, have made noises that they plan to keep him until at least the end of the season, possibly into next season. And don't forget, they still have a chance in Europa League football, so I wouldn't say that he's done at Schalke yet. He just needs to find a way to change the emphasis of the game, and that's been the kind of the theme of the games that we've seen from since the restart. They've struggled to affect the game in the final third, and that's the problem. But I don't think any coach could come into this Schalke side and find that easy, just purely because of the personnel at their disposal.
Absolutely. Here's another question. This one comes from Johnny. He says, what are your thoughts on Schalke bringing Nubel back in despite the Bayern controversy? And he asks if Schubert's injured. To be clear, Schubert's not injured, is he? This is purely because he's not performed.
Yeah, Schubert's been quite poor since the restart. He's had several mistakes that have led to goals for the opposition, and even just his distribution's been off, his handling's been off. I think his confidence is probably a little bit shot, which could explain the move. I think that if we were in a position where the fans were still in the stadium, I think bringing Nubel back in would be harder because the reception he would get from the Schalke fans would be quite hostile. The issue isn't just that Nubel has agreed a move to Bayern Munich. He was also the Schalke captain, and David Wagner and the Schalke hierarchy were very set in the fact that they removed the captaincy from Nubel when he announced that he was signing for Bayern Munich. So to go back in yourself that much and to put Nubel back in place, I think it was something they had to do from a purely personnel standpoint because Schubert hadn't performed. But at the same time, I think that having no fans in the stadium made that slightly easier.
Absolutely. This next question comes from Benj1871. He says, are you surprised by how badly Werder have missed Max Kruse this season? And who do you think Schalke should sign striker-wise in the window? So let's address the Werder Bremen point first. Max Kruse, how badly have Bremen missed him?
I think Kruse is quite an interesting character. He was almost the catalyst for Werder Bremen, if you like. He was the player who was always making the runs in behind the defensive line. He was the player who led the line, who held the ball up. I think Josh Sargent has got the ability to develop into that kind of a player, but as I said, in the build-up to the game, his link-up play is still lacking slightly, and that's something that Max Kruse did give you. I think that Bremen were perhaps a little bit surprised that they've missed Kruse quite so much. I know they did want to keep him before he left the club, but for him to move on and be performing well after he's left as well, I think that it's certain that Bremen are missing his output and his ability to link the play a little bit. I think Rashica does well, Sargent has promise, and we've already seen that Bittencourt has quality on his left foot, but none of those players have the same profile that Max Kruse did, and that's perhaps what they're missing a little bit more. But that's the problem with squad building and recruitment in football. It's very difficult to lose a player with a certain profile and just be able to replace him like for like. It generally means that you need different players to come in and take different things away that player would have perhaps done, which is why we see Rashica and Sargent almost combined. They're almost performing the same kind of role that Kruse did.
Absolutely. Just looking at the second part of that question, which is in regards to Schalke signing, not striking. Signing a striker, there you go, we got it in the end. I mean, from my perspective, I've covered a couple of games of Schalke's now since we started this. Of course, the Dortmund game and this one. In the Dortmund game, if I'm not mistaken, it was Guido Bergstaller who started up top. Here we've got Michael Gregorich, and it's pretty evident to me, and I know Schalke are in a bit of a bad way at the moment, but that they do need to recruit in that area. Would you agree with that? And what type of player do you think they need to go for?
They certainly do. The striker position's been a problem for Schalke for as long as I can remember. The last decade, they've really struggled to fill the position. The young player on the bench, Ahmed Kuchku, is very promising. He's a finisher, but similar to Josh Sargent, his link-up play and everything else around his game is still quite lacking if you're going to be a genuine Bundesliga starter. I think before Schalke decide who they're going to sign to play in the striker position, they need to decide what they're going to do from a tactical point of view. So two different roles that they could look to recruit for, either the striker that we've talked about, who plays back to goal and who holds the ball up and allows that Schalke block to move forward as a unit, being able to take the ball in your chest or take the ball at feet, hold off defenders and wait for the midfield to come up and support you? Or are you looking for more the traditional striker type, the player who runs in behind the defensive line, stretches the defensive line and perhaps opens up space for players because the defensive line has to play deeper because they're worried about that pace? Two different ways that Schalke could go. The question is what they're going to decide to do, and a lot of that depends on what they're going to do from a coaching perspective. If it's still David Wagner next season, which as I've said it very well could be, I think they'll look for the first type. They'll look for somebody who can hold the ball up, bring others into play, and just allow the Schalke midfield players to move up. Don't forget, we're also missing Harit, the young attacking midfielder for Schalke. He's not involved today, and he's a very creative force for Schalke and a player who can affect the game in the final third. So perhaps having a player, Bergstahler's not that player, Gregorich isn't that player, but having a player who can receive the ball and bring others into play before then providing that attacking threat. I think if you're talking about the kind of players who could do that, there are many players in the Bundesliga at the moment, very experienced players who are able to hold the ball up before then spinning in behind the defensive line and finding space in the penalty area, and that's a profile that I think that they'll look for. But in recruitment, it's not just a case of deciding here's your top 10 players or top 5 players for each position. You have to first find out what the coach wants in terms of what the player can provide, and then come up with shadow squads and come up with options that you can take forward.
Absolutely. Just before we come to a couple of other questions, let's just quickly run through the scores as they stand in the Bundesliga at the moment. Hertha Berlin 1, Augsburg 0, and it's Javero de la Rosen with the goal for the hosts. Hertha Berlin going really, really well since the restart. Mainz 0, Hoffenheim 1. Steven Zuber missed a penalty for the visitors there, but Ilas Bebu has got the goal on the 43rd minute, and Hoffenheim lead Mainz by 1-0. Of course, here it's Schalke 0, Werder Bremen 1. Elsewhere, it's Wolfsburg 0, Eintracht Frankfurt 1. Andre Silva with the penalty, making the difference at the moment. And of course, later on, about an hour or so, hour and a half or so after this one finishes, it's Bayern Munich versus Fortuna Dusseldorf. Let's go back to a couple more questions. Hopefully we can squeeze these in before the second period resumes. The first one comes from DK, and he says, Lee, how highly do you rate Todibo in terms of both his current state and potential? We've spoken a lot about Todibo, so if you could just summarise on this one.
I think that we can clearly see the profile of player that Barcelona signed when they took him from France. He's got ability in the ball. He's quick, athletic. He covers ground well. He doesn't mind being isolated when he's pulled wide, but he still is making mistakes, and that's a sign of a player who's perhaps moved to a level before he was ready to. I think he'd be better suited staying in France or making a progressive move to a club before Barcelona. There's quite possibly a player there, but I think that the person asking the question knows better than I do that a young player coming into the first team setup at Barcelona, if they make mistakes like we've seen Todibo made today, they would quickly be slaughtered by the press and the fans and find themselves in a difficult position in terms of playing for the first team moving forward. I think he needs to get genuine regular first team football, and whether that's extending his loan to Schalke to cover next year as well, where he can be allowed to make these mistakes before moving back to Barcelona. He needs to find that next progressive step, I think, but there's definitely a player there.
Absolutely. We're seeing Werder Bremen are going to make that change that you predicted. It is going to be Yuya Osako, and he's going to be coming on, we assume, for Leonardo Bittencourt, but we're just waiting for confirmation on that whilst we do wait for that confirmation. I think we can squeeze one more question in, and this one comes from Johnny, and he says, to what extent do you think the loss of Harit and Serdar has limited the tactical options for Wagner today?
I think they're two key players, and that's what we talked about with the fact that injuries have changed the game state and the way that Schalke are able to play. Harit is the creative presence in the final third, the player that plays from the left but drifts inside and can affect the game. And Serdar's the almost progressor in the midfield. He's the player who takes possession in the centre of the pitch and will change the angle of attack. That's something that we can obviously see Schalke are missing. Weston McKennie's more of a runner. He's somebody who breaks from the midfield to join the attack. With Serdar in the pitch, he's able to do that more frequently, and knowing that Serdar will find those runs forward. So two players that Schalke are definitely missing.
Back underway here in the Veltins Arena. Schalke 0, Bremen 1. Just the one change at half-time. And it's come from Werder Bremen, of course. As we said, Leonardo Bittencourt with a problem. He was replaced by Osako. There's been a Schalke change as well. My apologies. Todibo has gone off. Change in shape for Schalke maybe, because it's Bastian Oksipka that's come on.
Potentially, is it because more of a left-sided player? I have to watch for a couple of minutes to find out exactly what it is that they have done.
There's a third one as well. Apologies, we're not getting those coming through on our pictures. We're just getting confirmation of that one. As Schalke come forward here, it's an effort from the edge of the box from Weston McKennie, just dragged wide. As we just await confirmation on that. Apologies. Just having some trouble getting it through our pictures here. It's Rabbi Matondo was the other one. He has been replaced by Benito Raman. A couple of changes for Schalke, just the one for Bremen.
Roman's slightly more central than Rotondo. He'll be a player who looks to combine with Gregoric in the striker position, so obviously looking to make something happen around Gregoric a little bit more. It still does look like a back three as well, as Ipka's still deep. You can see him there in the near side of the pitch, potentially moving out to left back position, but at the moment he's playing centrally.
Sure, we'll get a stronger understanding of what exactly has been changed by the two sides in the next few moments or so as we watch things unfold.
I think it's interesting, this move to 5 substitutions, which is actually obviously a result of the COVID crisis and the fact conditioning problems were predicted before the league restarted. I don't know whether it's making coaches almost overthink some of their changes. We seem to be getting batches of changes coming through at a time, and it just disrupts the game.
Absolutely, it does indeed. Here is Miranda. Here's Gabri Selassie inside. Vogt under a little bit of pressure. Ball with the outside of his foot almost picked up there by Roman. Here come the home side once more.
Roman is definitely more central than Matondo. He is looking to affect to play a little bit more in the final third. Positive change perhaps from David Wagner.
Absolutely. Wearing the number 9 shirt for Schalke is Roman. Here is Salif Sane. Now Weston McKennie. Ball out to the left-hand side where Miranda's got forward. It's a low ball into the penalty area. It's an effort from the edge of the box from Alexandro Scherpf. Unable to get it all the way through to the goal, though, and trouble Yuri Pavlenka in any way.
It's better from Schalke, though. A little bit more thought in the way that they progressed the ball and built up and access to space on the left-hand side. Here it is again.
Here comes Miranda once more on this left-hand side for Schalke. Steps inside the Werder Bremen man, Osako. Won a free kick for his troubles. See it there. Certainly a foul. Nothing malicious, nothing dangerous. Just a little bit late in reacting there. Schalke have the opportunity to get the ball into the penalty area. 49 minutes played. They trail Werder Bremen by a goal to nil. David Wagner desperate to see his side claw their way back into this game. Calagiuri is going to take the free kick, right-footed. The 32-year-old Italian puts it in towards that far post. There was Gregoritsch rising, but he was never going to trouble anybody from there. Always a very difficult header. You just see it again. Ball towards that far post. Gregoritsch, he got up well to his credit, but it was difficult having jumped so early to then divert the ball goalwards.
That angle as well, he pulled out quite far towards the back post. At that point, you're just looking to direct the ball back across the goal. Going for goal from that area is really a low percentage chance that you're going to turn it into a goal.
Absolutely. Bremen have a free kick on that left-hand side. They'll switch the play towards Gebri Selassie on this near side. Here's Langkamp. Back to Pavlenka in the goal. Interestingly, Yuri Pavlenka, my apologies for cutting you there, Lee. He's conceded 57 goals this season. That's incredible.
Yeah, for a goalkeeper that's quite highly thought of as well. I think that the defensive problems for Bremen have been their downfall, if you like. But certainly, Pavlenka is a better goalkeeper than that, and don't expect that to be the case next season if they're still in the Bundesliga. I was going to say it's interesting with the fact that Schalke are now in a very pronounced front two. You'll now see Kevin Vogt go back to dropping back deeper again. We'd seen in the second half he'd stopped doing so. He was staying in the midfield because there's no pressure on the centre halves in possession. Expect to see Vogt now forming that back three and giving them a 3 versus 2 opportunity.
Absolutely. Osako's gone down there after a challenge from Weston McKennie, who, of course, has been shown a yellow card. It looked like an arm to the face there. Not sure how intentional it was. I'd like to see it again before making a definitive judgment. But Werder Bremen are not happy, and they have every right to be asking for Weston McKennie to be shown a red card here, maybe.
Yeah. I think robust is perhaps putting it mildly, but shoulder to shoulder. The challenge was shoulder to shoulder, but there was no way that was going to go unpunished, I don't think.
Weston McKennie just having a word with the referee there in the middle of the park as Osako receives treatment. David Wagner not happy about it, but I think that's more frustration, what it's got to be, than him genuinely believing that was a clean challenge from Weston McKennie. Osako just getting up off the ground now, still holding that shoulder of his. As we just see it again. It's definitely shoulder to shoulder. Maybe the difference in stature of the two players has led to the collision in a slightly uncomfortable area, perhaps. Who knows? You can see actually as well on the Schalke captain's band, they've got a justice for George. Have you seen that? In response to the events going on in the United States. Of course, Weston McKennie is a USA international. Here's Rashika on this left-hand side for Werder Bremen, looking to step inside. Bridles come forward, but Weston McKennie emerges with possession for Schalke here. Looks to play the ball down the line. He'll get a second chance to do that, and he finds his teammate this time successfully. Ball delivered into the box, flicked on by Roman. It's fallen to him. Opportunity to beat his man and fire from the angle. It's a good save in the end from Yuri Pavlenka.
And that's the difference from Schalke. Straight away, Weston McKennie's being more progressive. He's trying to move the team forward. He's bursting forward, passing forward. And having that presence of more than one player in the penalty area pays off almost immediately. I think Roman was lucky that his flick on came back to him, but he was quick enough to turn and try to force the save.
Absolutely. Always going to be difficult from that angle, but signs of life from this Schalke team. Caligiuri will take the corner. Delivers it. It's towards the far post. Salif Sane heads it back into the mix. Werder Bremen look to break out now, though, with Rashika. But here come the hosts once more. Caligiuri inside the box. His cross is blocked. Klaassen will retrieve this and prevent it going out for a Schalke corner before Caligiuri concedes a throw-in. Bremen can take a breather. But it's better from Schalke, isn't it? Far more lively, far more intensity in their play.
It's what we were talking about in the first half. They needed to find a way to be able to move the ball forward and have the ball stick in that area so that the rest of the team could move forward and support. And perhaps the implementation of Roman, it might not so much be that Roman is now playing, but playing with a 2 instead of a 1 in attack just gives more options and more occupation space.
Schalke making another change. It looks like it's Weston McKennie.
Change.
He's arguably been their best player. There's no doubt about that. Bouzhelab has come on to replace him. Perhaps that's from fear of him maybe going into the book again, because he seems very fired up.
Potentially. I mean, Bouzhelab's not a player that I know a lot of. It's a 20-year-old Moroccan. But you're right, McKennie was just getting into the position where he was able to affect the game. He was the one who was driving his team forward. And now they've taken the impetus away a little bit by taking McKennie off, I think.
Absolutely. But Schalke have won themselves a free kick. Alessandro Schürpf just drifting out to that right-hand side. It'd be interesting to see now whether it's he or Bouzhelab that will have that license that McKennie obviously had to drift around the pitch, because he was very effective towards the end of the first half and in the beginning of this second period. Really strange change in my view. Here's Miranda standing over this free kick, but it's his teammate Caligiuri that will take it. All the way back to Okzipka, and it's driven in diagonally towards that far post. I'm not sure what Yuri Pavlenka was doing there.
That was a strange choice, to say the least. The ball was travelling out for a goal kick before he touched it.
He's not even timed the jump right. It's just a mess, isn't it, from start to finish. And Schalke have a corner now. Zipka will deliver it. Met by the head of a Bremen defender, though. Here's Caligiuri on this right-hand side. Here's John Joe Kenny. Nice work. Gets into the penalty area. Schalke looking to fashion the opportunity for a shot somewhere along the line here. They've done brilliantly there. Here's Bouzhelab. Here's cross. Blocked at the near post. Goes out for a Schalke corner again. Done well to keep maintaining the pressure there on Friedel, because he looked as though he dealt with the situation.
Yeah, Friedel was looking for a free kick, so Bouzhelab did well just to wait and hold his time.
Delivery comes in, right-footed, headed clear again. Ball will come back. Here's Rahman, heads it back towards the penalty spot. Sane knocked it down, and there was Gregoritsch with an effort, swung his left boot at it, but not troubling the goalkeeper. Another opportunity.
Much better for Schalke. They're starting to affect the game more. The game state feels like it's shifting towards Schalke pushing forward and being the ones that are pushing Werder Bremen back. Of course, Schalke have to remember the danger is the more progressive they get, the more space to leave behind them.
Absolutely. Selka is coming on for Rashica. Another change for Bremen.
And David Selk is very much a striker. He'll be a central presence for Bremen. He's powerful, quick, not been a great goal scorer throughout his career. He's very highly rated as a young player, and he's yet to really reach that height.
Schalke have made a change of their own as well. Kutucu comes on for Gregoritsch. Straight swap?
Yeah, straight swap. Kutucu is the player that I've been talking about. He's the player who's came through the Schalke youth system. He's got a very good finish, good eye for goal and around the penalty area, and he'll look to exploit any spaces in the Bremen defensive block.
Approaching the hour mark, Schalke looking for a way back into this game. They've certainly shown signs in the last few minutes that they're a lot more effective than they were in that first period. Ahmed Kutucu is now on the pitch as well. Turkish international. He's got 3 goals in the Bundesliga so far this season. He's 20 years old. Born in Gelsenkirchen. There is a huge Turkish population in that particular part of Germany as well.
Huge, is massive. You think like the Mesut Ozil and players of that ilk, Ilkay Gundogan as well, who came through in this region. A lot of players with Turkish heritage who've gone on to play for Germany, so it's interesting. Kutucu has apparently decided to put his lot in with Turkey.
Yeah, and you know, from being someone who's obviously from a Greek background, you know, we're kind of pretty close with the Turkish culture in the sense that it's very similar, and you know the proximity between the two countries is very close and stuff. And knowing how patriotic they are as a race, I find it quite astonishing that so many actually have chosen to play for Germany. I know it's a bigger nation in footballing terms, and it's much more glamorous, but I'm not as surprised as some maybe when I hear of these young players opting to play for Turkey, given from the Turkish people I know how sort of patriotic they are.
Definitely.
Here comes Schalke. Here's Miranda on this left-hand side. Dispossessed by Gebri Selassie. He's done really, really well there.
Yeah.
Under pressure, though, from two Schalke players, and he can't retain possession. Here comes Schöpf. Here's Miranda. Drives it in low, left-footed. The ball will break to the edge of the box. The shot's blocked. Driven from the edge of the penalty area again. They'll get a second stab at it. This time it was Kutucu. Bremen are really, really having to dig in here, aren't they?
It's such a night and day performance in terms of the first half performance from Schalke, and this is the kind of football that they are capable of playing, and this is what frustrates their fans so much. They're capable of being an attacking force when they choose to be.
Certainly shown that in this first quarter of an hour of the second period, a third of a way through the second half. We are here at the moment. It's Schalke 0, Bremen 1. It's been a whole host of changes from both sides. The landscape of the game is looking very different to the game that we saw in that first period. Fingers crossed, get a few more entertaining moments. David Wagner just remonstrating with the fourth official there. Schalke have the opportunity to put the ball in the penalty area once more. Obzipka's delivery, left-footed. Bremen look to deal with it at least momentarily. Here's Selke carrying the ball forward for the visitors. He's won his team a throw-in, and they can have a quick breather. As good as, or as better as Schalke have been in this second period, it does make you really, really frustrated. Now we're looking back on it that they played the first half in the way they did.
Yeah, absolutely. The same goes for Bremen. They're obviously struggling to find their imprint in the second half, but don't forget they've lost Bittencourt, they've lost Rashica now, who's came off for David Schalke. So these changes are making an impact on them. You can see Sargent playing more in the 10 role behind Schalke now, which is making it a little bit harder for them to get the ball forward and to move their block forward. So they're starting to suffer the same problems in this half that we saw Schalke suffer in the first half. The
Absolutely.
danger for Bremen will be if they sit too deep. All it takes is one mistake in the defensive block, and Schalke could get back into the game.
We've seen another yellow card. This time it's for Osako there. Arm up. Caught Miranda in the face. Again, it's one of those where it's not particularly done with any excessive force, but it's always going to get punished. Had quite a few yellow cards here, haven't we?
Yeah.
This afternoon. 5 so far. Obzipka puts the ball in towards that far post. Out comes the goalkeeper. He gets a fist to it. Concedes a throw-in. Salif Sane is such a handful in the air, isn't he? He's proven that already in this game.
Absolutely, and that was quite a dangerous choice from the goalkeeper to come out and try and make contact with that ball. If he'd just been slightly off with his timing of his leap, then Sane could have got his head to the ball with an open goal.
The home side in possession once more with Miranda on this left-hand side as they look to find a way back into this game. They look to draw on level terms with Werder Bremen.
It's just so strange the way the two teams have almost switched in the second half. The same problems that Schalke had, we now see from Bremen, and Schalke are now looking more progressive and looking better in the final third.
Here is Gebri Selassie. Under some pressure there. From Zipka. Finds his teammate anyway, though. Here is Osako. Won his team a throw-in. Gebri Selassie will take it for the visitors. Into Selke. Under pressure from two Schalke players. Does really, really well there to win his team a corner. A tall figure. Davy Selke certainly gives Werder Bremen a little bit more of a target up top.
It's very imposing, comfortable with the ball to feet, comfortable running into space. He's got good pace, good power. The only issue he's had throughout his career has been the lack of consistency in front of goal. No matter where he's been, he's struggled to make that imprint on a team. At Hertha Berlin, he was very highly rated, but he just seems to be moving around now, trying to find his club to make his mark, if you like.
Marco Friedel, the Werder Bremen left back, is going to take this corner. The referee just having a word with couple of those involved in the centre of the penalty area, Salif Sane being one of them, about their conduct. Going to be delivered, left-footed. Out comes the goalkeeper, he gets a hand to it. Alexander Nubel relieving the pressure on his defence momentarily, but Osako has it now on this left-hand side. Can he dig out a cross? It's blocked. Found its way through to the penalty area anyway. Selke's come out, but you want Selke in the penalty area, don't you?
Definitely. With that presence, that's a position where he needs to be to affect the game.
Here comes Roman now. On the run for Schalke. He's done really, really well here. Looks to cut inside, looks to find a teammate, but just ran out of steam when it came to making that final pass. That's a poor pass there from Kutucu, and Schalke have given away possession, but they've won it back almost immediately. Sloppy play from both sides at the moment where it really matters. Here's Miranda. Here's Opzipka on this left-hand side. He delivers into the box. Flag's gone up though. He was offside.
We talked about the fact that Kutucu is still quite raw in terms of his link-up play and his ability to bring players in. You saw that there. The opportunity just to continue the attack and movement, and he just switched off and laid a very poor ball back towards, not even towards a teammate. It was easily taken away by Bremen. It's frustrating for David Wagner at this point. I think they've been so much better, but they've still not found a clear way through to goal.
The last 20 minutes, they've had 8 attempts at goal in comparison to Werder Bremen's. If I'm not mistaken, they'd only had 1 at half-time.
Yep.
Tells you a story of the difference between David Wagner's side in the first half and David Wagner's side in his second period so far. John Joe Kenny will take the throw-in. Not much in the way of movement. Here is Sargent coming down this left-hand side for Werder Bremen. Challenge there by Boujela. He's won himself a free kick. Again, Bremen will take all these breathers.
Yep.
Whenever they can get them, there's no doubt they're in no rush to continue this game. They currently lead by 1-0, and given where they find themselves in the table and the fact that they've taken 4 points in their last couple of games, this would be a massive result for Florian Kohfeld's side.
Absolutely. They need these points more at this point, I think, than Schalke do. But I think in terms of the way the two teams are playing, I think that Schalke perhaps need a chance to break this run that they're on, even with a goal and some positivity for the fan base.
Delivered into the penalty area. Headed clear. Schalke with a real opportunity to break here now. Here's Kutucu bursting forward. Schalke have a man over on this right-hand side if they can find him. That's such a poor pass, though.
Yeah.
Such a poor pass to John Joe Kenny. It was played behind him. And that was a real opportunity for Schalke to make something. He
really struggles with that phase of play and that ability to bring others in. But if the ball breaks in the penalty area, there's no player in the pitch that Schalke will want to be there more than Kutucu. You just need to find a way to get him into those positions more, as opposed to having him running from deep with the ball at his feet.
Schalke again getting the ball into that Bremen penalty area. But to no avail. Here's the next round of attack, if you want to call it that, from Schalke. They're forced back, though. Salif Sane.
You can see how deep. Look at the Bremen midfield. They're so deep now. They're just inviting Schalke onto them, allowing them possession, and eventually Schalke will find the progression into the final third in the penalty area if this continues.
Here's John Joe Kenny towards Kutucu, but it's taken on the chest by Kevin Vogt, and then he clears it. 20 minutes remaining here. plus stoppage time. Schalke 0, Bremen 1. Friedel there with a knock to the head, a little bit of a sore one. We're going to see more changes. Looks like Joshua Sargent has gone off. Certainly looks tired. Just waiting for confirmation on that change from Werder Bremen. We know that Joshua Sargent, USA international, just 20 years old, has gone off, and it's Bargfreder that's come on.
I think that's a change more because of the condition of the Sergeant rather than anything else. I think that he's ran a lot, he's put a lot of effort in, and you could see that he was starting to struggle a little bit at the point before he was taken off.
Corner's going to come in left-footed. Headed clear at the near post. Rahman will chase it out. David Klaassen is alert to it though, and he concedes a throw-in. Gives Werder Bremen that opportunity to get back in position and get men behind the ball as they defend this one-goal lead. Here's Rahman again. Made a real difference for Schalke, in my view.
He has. He can be effective. He's got pace. He likes to stretch space behind the defensive line. Again, he's just a player who doesn't get a lot of goals, and that's a knock on him, if you like.
Here is Ozan Kabak and Salif Sane. Bougelab plays it back to Sane. Here's Kabak once more. Under a bit of pressure there from Davy Selka. Ball falls to Rahman. Here's Caliguri. Schalke looking to make something happen. Here's Miranda. Steps inside, shifts it onto the right foot, delivers it towards the other side of the penalty area. It's struck there on the volley by John Joe Kenny, but he was never likely to score or even test Pavlenka in the Werder Bremen goal from that distance. Difficult technique.
That goes down as ambitious, I think, from that kind of angle. He's not a right back. He's known for his marauding runs or his ability in front of goal. So to try to volley there from 25 yards at the angle on a ball that's coming across over your shoulder, very difficult technique.
Just the one goal in the Bundesliga this season for John Joe Kenny in 26 appearances so far.
It'll be interesting to see if he breaks into the Everton first team when he goes back from this loan period. He's certainly done well, established himself in a Bundesliga side, gained a lot of valuable experience.
Absolutely. Of course, Carlo Ancelotti, the legendary Italian manager, is in charge of the Goodison Park club nowadays. What does that mean, though, for John Joe Kenny's chances? Of course, Ancelotti took over in December. And I remember that because it was the day before Mikel Arteta was officially announced as the Arsenal boss. And funnily enough, the two clubs met that weekend.
Yeah.
Bremen have a throw-in on that far side. Kevin Vogt takes a touch to Klaassen. Into Gebri Selassie. Bremen pretty happy just to retain possession. It's always a lot less tiring when you've got the ball than when you're chasing shadows.
Well, absolutely, and that's part of the reason they're doing it. They're moving the ball. You saw when the ball came to Gebri Selassie, though, there wasn't a lot of support for him in that side of the pitch. There weren't a lot of players making angles ahead of the ball to receive, and that's why the move ultimately broke down. So Bremen need to decide if they're going to be happy just progressing the ball from one side of the pitch to the other, or if they want to be progressive and move forward a little bit more again.
To keep you guys posted. Don't forget that we'll be covering Paderborn versus Borussia Dortmund tomorrow from around about 4:45 p.m. That's UK time. Kickoff is at 5. We're bringing you a 10-15 minute build up to that one, and then we'll be taking you through the entire 90 minutes. Myself and Lee Scott once more. Here's Kutucu linking up there with me on that right hand side. Hasn't taken long for sponsors to start advertising on protective face masks, has it?
No, I suppose that was only a matter of time, really.
Zipka delivers into the penalty area. Headed out towards the edge of the box. Hooked up into the air by Gebri Selassie. Salif Sane looks to play the pass around the corner. On his team a throw in though instead. Selka's worked really hard since he's come on.
Worked hard, but not much end product as of yet. He hasn't really had a chance to be on the ball in the final third. A lot of pressing. He's ran with the ball and carried it well out of his own defensive third a couple of times. But certainly I think that it would have been interesting to see him in the Bremen system in the first half, if you like, when they had more of the ball, to see what he could achieve.
Absolutely. Been a lonely role for him since he's come on up there, Davy Selka. Not had much in the way of support. Here is Gebri Selassie in towards the aforementioned Selka. Foul there, surely. Bremen take it quickly. Ball in behind it. I think it's Klaassen that's chasing it. The ball's come straight back to Gebri Selassie. Almost as though it was the intended pass. Here's Kutucu, flicks it on. Rahman trying to bring the ball down, but it just wouldn't drop quick enough for him. The flag's gone up anyway. Bremen have another free kick and an opportunity to kill a little bit more time, to run down that clock. Because as we keep saying, 3 points for Werder Bremen at this moment in time would be absolutely priceless.
Definitely. You think about the fact that they're down at the bottom of the table looking to get themselves out of relegation trouble. This is the kind of game that they would come into expected or hoping they could get 3 points, and so far it's looking likely that will be the case. I think time is running out there for Schalke to really find a way to get through this Bremen defensive block. So far they haven't found comfortable passing options in the final third, and that's really telling with their lack of ability to bring others into play in that area. Rahman is looking dangerous. Kutucu has been sloppy on more than one occasion, but with no real thrust from midfield. You really are relying on the likes of Rahman to make something happen now.
Absolutely. And incidentally, Bremen have won their last 2 visits to the Veltins Arena in the Bundesliga. They're looking to make it 3 out of 3. Here's Klaassen, flicks it round the corner, gets it back. Klaassen from the angle. Can he pick out a teammate? The ball's gone into the penalty area. Osako's there. Ball bouncing up and down. Manages to get a shot away in the end there, but blocked and not causing anybody any real problems. But just a sign that Werder Bremen carry a threat of their own.
They certainly can. We saw that in the first half. We saw enough of them, even without Rashica and without Bittencourt. They still have quality in the final third. As we said, Schalke is a handful. Osaka will make those little runs around him and try and get on the ball. We see him there trying to win the ball in the penalty area and getting flattened for his trouble. But I think at the moment
he has been in the wall since he's come on. He really has.
It's been a constant part of the second half. I think seeing him go down for one reason or another. Were they perhaps looking for a penalty there? Not given.
Referee is not interested. Didn't look like a penalty to me, to be honest.
No.
Just a slight mistiming of the jump from Salif Sane, but it didn't seem as though he went there with the intention of taking Osako out.
That was the difference between one player who's dominant aerially and another who's not meeting and clashing in the penalty area. Certainly wasn't any more than that, I don't think.
When you look at the size difference of the two as well, it's obvious who's going to come out on top, isn't it?
Definitely.
The referee's just going over to have a word with Florian Kohfeldt, who's obviously still unhappy, maybe about that decision, but he's certainly having a moan about something. 2 meters, lads. Still not happy, giving the referee a bit of attitude there. Going to see another substitution in a game that's been almost riddled by change. Bergstaller comes on for Miranda.
Now we might see a slight change of system. That means Zupka will go to the left-hand side, potentially a back four for Schalke now. And Bergstaller are going to join the attack to try and make something happen. They'll try to commit more players forward, but as we always say, that leaves space in behind. Has to be a balance in that now for Schalke.
They've got little over 10 minutes plus stoppage time to find a reply here. Here is Obzipka. Ball into the channel. Out comes Bergstaller. That's a good ball across the penalty area, but nobody's alert to it. Nobody's following in at the far post.
Looks like Bergstaller and Katuku are the front pair with Rahman playing off them. He'll look to use his pace from deeper areas to access the penalty area with delayed runs. Bergstaller obviously straight away looking to spin in behind and get the ball in dangerous areas around the penalty area. Possibly the last roll of the dice for Schalke now to make something happen. David Wagner trying to affect the game tactically as much as anything else and just trying to occupy different spaces in the front line.
Don't forget, guys, if you're watching us via the Total Football Analysis YouTube channel, head over to the Hot Mic app, download it using the promo code TFA2020. Give us a follow. That way you'll never miss a future broadcast. If you are on the Hot Mic app, hit that like button, hit the share button, and of course give TFA a follow if you don't already. As we said earlier on, we'll be bringing you a schedule in the coming days of all the games we'll be covering over the next 30 days or so. There'll be some new commentary teams, just in case you've gotten fed up of us already.
It didn't take long.
Here's Bergstaller in the penalty area for Schalke, looking to cause some sort of menace. 31 years old, Bergstaller. Hasn't scored in the Bundesliga this season, actually. Which doesn't fill you with confidence as a Schalke supporter, I'm sure.
No, he's another one of those strikers in the squad who doesn't have a great track record in front of goal. He works hard. He's industrious. He can create for others, as we've already seen since he came on. But at times you need your striker just to be that presence in front of goal, to play the width the penalty area, and to find spaces to get great shots.
I don't know about you, Lee, but when I was growing up, strikers were supposed to score goals.
They were.
Our football has developed.
I think it's interesting. We talked about Liverpool a little bit earlier on with the fact that Jurgen Klopp's tactically versatile, but you look at the role of Roberto Firmino for Liverpool. He plays as the 9, but he's more of the creative focus player in the team, and there'd be more changes like that in football. It's something that we talk about quite a lot over in Total Football Analysis, with different analysis pieces looking at different roles that players and positions have and how you can change the look of a team just by playing a player with a different role, if you like, or a different tendencies, different profile in a positional slot rather than another player. So the difference, if you like, between an Alan Shearer and a Thierry Henry, both were goal scorers, but very different. They played very differently on the pitch.
Absolutely. Bujalab shown a yellow card there for Schalke. It's another yellow card. Certainly been no shortage of those, although there's been a shortage of goalmouth action. But we got our yellow cards. It's one consolation. Here come Bremen, looking for a second. Here's Selke from the angle, shot blocked in the end. Vital interception there from Ozan Kabak, I think it was, who just managed to get back and make his mark. It is very good defending because Selke was away. I know the angle was difficult, but could have forced something out of the keeper at least. That's
what we talk about, though. A natural goal scorer in that position, that shot goes away quicker. The shot goes across the goal before the defender has a chance to close him down. Selke's a little bit more of an industrious type, if you like. He looked for the clear shot. He tried to improve the angle. But a natural, instinctive goal scorer would have got the shot away on target, I think.
I agree. Corner's going to be delivered by Friedel in towards that far post. Out came Nubel. He got a punch on it. Not much distance on that though, and Werder Bremen come back once more. Here's Kevin Vogt. He's conceded a free kick, somewhat frustratingly, but he's got to get back in his position now because he plays such an important role in front of that Werder Bremen defence.
Yes, he does. You can see him try to scurry back there to get back into his defensive position, and he is now.
Ball just crept out of play there. Bremen have a throw-in, and again, they're in no rush, and why would they be? They lead Schalke by a 0-0 on their own patch. Could be on the verge of securing their 7th point from their last 3 fixtures, which is massive when you consider where they find themselves in the table. Selke knocks it on. Here's Vogt. Here's Friedel. Inside. Vogt trying to get there. The pass was a little bit short. Schalke have possession back, but again, they can't maintain it. Again, they can't create anything. And again, that final ball is just not right. Don't forget, guys, give Total Football Analysis a follow via the Hot Mic app. It is much appreciated, and that way you'll never miss a broadcast and get a notification every time that we go live. Here come the home side once more. Delivery into the penalty area towards that far post. Rahman was waiting behind Gebri Selassie there, who had no option but to head the ball out for a corner.
It's a poor delivery from Schalke, though, to hit that type of cross from the far side, looping high up in the air over to the far side of the penalty area. When they had the advantage at that point, a harder, flatter ball would have been far more effective.
Going to be delivered into the penalty area towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Headed clear sort of temporarily and then hooked away by Gebri Selassie. Give Bremen yet another bit of breathing space. Can they hold on? Less than 4 minutes plus stoppage time remaining here in the Veltins Arena. David Wagner's side desperate for an equaliser. Florian Kohfeld's side desperate for all 3 points. It's not been a great game in truth in terms of quality, but it's one of great significance as the away side have the opportunity to bring the ball forward here. Here's Friedel, looks up, ball in behind. Osako will take it down. He's under pressure though from Kabak, who got back and done really, really well.
I think that passage of play sums the game up very well. First, Leif Sani giving the ball away needlessly for Schalke in the final third, and a ball over the top, and Osako was clear. All he had to do was take a touch out of his feet in front of him, and he would have a chance on goal, but he just miscontrolled. I think that's been the story of this game, and especially the second half.
Here come the visitors once more. Ball in behind here for Osako. He looks to cut it across the penalty area. Why on earth he didn't go for goal himself, I don't know. Could have put the game beyond all doubt.
He certainly could. That's just a player who's not a natural instinctive goal scorer again. I think that if you gave that opportunity to Josh Sargent, who was on the pitch in the first half, his first instinct would have been to finish. But Osako again looks for what would be a clever pass across the far side if there wasn't a defender stationed right with Davy Klaassen. He didn't look up, it was just instinctive.
Should Davy Klaassen be doing more to bust the gut and get in to the right side of that defender, though? Should he be trying to divert his run inwards? Should he be alert to the fact that Osako may do that, or do you forgive him there?
I think that potentially you're right, but at this point, 88th minute of the match now, and Klaassen's played most of the football for Bremen since the restart. I think at this point, that explosive ability to move beyond the defender in that area, the defender had a clear advantage of him in terms of position, in terms of being closer to the ball, makes it a difficult opportunity. I think that the blame more goes on the striker for not finishing.
Here they come again with another opportunity. Are they going to get a free kick here? They certainly want one. Looks like they're going to get a corner instead. I think you make a great point about the fact that it is so late in the game. Just think maybe it's because I used to be a striker that my mind would have been on getting in front of that defender, or at least getting on the right side in case something breaks through.
You wouldn't have passed the ball.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Wouldn't even pass the ball now, and I can't run anymore. Here's Friedel with the corner for Werder Bremen. Here's Klaassen. Looked as though he was just trying to shield the ball there, protect it, buy himself a few seconds. Newell did well there, under a little bit of pressure from Osako, who has been very involved in the game, if nothing else, since his introduction at half-time.
Definitely involved, but maybe not effective. I think he struggled to really make an impact rather than winning his team the odd free kick.
Here is Klassen. Wanted a free kick, he's not going to get one, and John Joe Kenny looks to find, I think it's Sane who's been deployed further up the pitch now for Schalke.
Yeah. It's that age-old managerial switch, isn't it? Putting the big centre-half up front to try and affect something.
Absolutely. 4 minutes of time added on here. Can Schalke muster one more good opportunity? Here's Kevin Vogt. Bremen putting the ball out of play for Sane, who was down injured there, but Sane got straight up as soon as the ball was played. Wonder if Schalke will give it back. Bremen are going to make another change though. Going to kill a few more seconds. It's Osako, man who came on as a sub at half time. The substitute being substituted. Florian Kofeld has got his mask on now. It's Gross who's coming on.
A defensive substitution. Osaka's coming off. Gross more of a defensive-minded player.
Had a minute of the 4 minutes of stoppage time. Will we see another opportunity? Or Schalke? Will Bremen get another opportunity? Gross getting involved straight away.
Now Schalke will just go long, looking for the head of Sane, looking to make something happen with the second or third ball.
I suppose in the few times this afternoon that they have threatened that goal, it's been when Salif Sane has been, using his dominance in the air from knockdowns and various bits and pieces and scraps off of him. That's where they've had some impact. There's a little bit of a scrap here between Selke and Ozan Kabak. Selke not happy at all.
Kabak's not intimidated by the fact that Selke's got a good few inches on him either. Very much a dominant centre-half, Kabak, in the more traditional style of defenders.
I think it was this part here. It was the way he almost... I don't know if Selke's holding his boot or if he's deliberately dragged it. It certainly looked like that, didn't it?
Yep.
As if he was trying to make something of the situation. Well, Kabak's been booked.
Kabak's he's only 20, but this is already his second team in Germany. He signed initially for VfB Stuttgart, who are in the second tier, a club with a good reputation for developing players, and straight away made his presence known and got transferred to the Bundesliga. It's unlikely he's going to stop at Schalke either. Expect to see him linked to a few clubs in the summer.
We will keep an eye out for him indeed, as Selke pops up on this right hand side now, doing some good work in terms of running down the clock for Werder Bremen. Is not where Schalke want the ball to be, given that there's a minute of stoppage time left to play here. They trail Werder Bremen by 1-0. The pressure on David Wagner is ever increasing. It's been better from them in this second half, but it's still not been good enough.
No. That's a problem. If they'd been a bit more progressive, a bit more attack-minded throughout the game, they might not be in this position now.
Here they come, one more opportunity. Kutucu shot blocked. Ball breaks to the edge of the box. It's driven back in there, but Gross has the chance now to run down the clock a little bit further. I think he's won a throw-in for his team, has he? Certainly took a coming off of his knee again, but we don't know if the ball was in or out at that point. Looks like it's been given Bremen's way. Again, they're in absolutely no rush, and why would they be? Throws it down the line. Selke will try and hold it up. The throw-in gone Schalke's way. We've had the 4 minutes of time. Florian Kohfeldt making that point. Still no sign of the referee putting the whistle to his mouth yet. Selke putting the Schalke defenders under pressure. The final whistle's gone. It's Schalke 0, Werder Bremen 1. It was a poor game in truth in terms of quality. I'm sure Lee will agree with me. One bit of quality that we did see, though, was from Leonardo Bittencourt when he opened up his body with his left foot, guided it into that top corner, leaving Alexander Nubel with no chance whatsoever after Jean-Claire Todibo was dispossessed in the middle of the park. It's a huge 3 points for the visitors, but it's more misery for David Wagner's side. Lee, your final thoughts on what wasn't a great game of football, let's be honest.
I think it was a very strange game overall. The first half, when the pattern was clearly set, with Bremen sitting back, Schalke sitting back, inviting Bremen onto them, and Bremen got the breakthrough with the one true piece of quality that we saw in the game with that finish from Bittencourt. But the second half, the game state completely switched over, and Bremen were in danger of being caught sitting back themselves as Schalke got forward more and tried to make more space and make things happen by occupying the final third better through slight positional changes and tweaks in the way they progressed the ball forward. In the end, though, there were transitional opportunities for Bremen that could have put the game beyond doubt. And in the end, I think Bremen probably deserved to win. But you're right in what you say, that this puts more pressure now on David Wagner and his coaching staff.
Absolutely, there's no question about that. David Wagner will be looked at through the microscope in the coming days by the Schalke fans, I'm sure, and those who, of course, analyse the Bundesliga, because something is not right at Schalke. The results are showing that, and the performances aren't giving anybody any confidence at the moment. Don't forget to follow Total Football Analysis via the Hot Mic app. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all the usual places. Subscribe to the YouTube channel too. Myself and Lee will be back tomorrow from around about 4:45 p.m. as we pick up coverage of Paderborn versus Borussia Dortmund. That is our live game tomorrow, so do come and join us. You can sync our commentary with your television pictures for a more analytical view on the Bundesliga. As I said earlier on as well, we'll be bringing you a schedule in the coming days in regards to all the games we'll be covering over the next 30 days or so, and we'll be hoping to pick up some games from the other leagues that are scheduled to be resuming next month. So lots and lots to look forward to. Lots of brilliant stuff coming your way from Total Football Analysis. A big thank you to Hot Mic once again for hosting us, and we'll be back very, very soon with more. Until next time, take care of yourselves, enjoy the sun, enjoy the rest of your weekends.